Look up. Let me teach you how to extract the thoughts of God in scripture. Anything is qualified to be a doctrine. I have taught you about doctrines. The word doctrine comes from the Latin word doctrina. It means a predefined body of knowledge that is intended to make a student become something exact. Doctrine. Are we together? And that believers mature in this kingdom through the sound exegesis of doctrine. Every time doctrine is communicated, is able to empower the believers to be people of stature and maturity. Anything is qualified to be a doctrine if it passes these three tests. Never forget this. Anything that cannot pass these three tests is not qualified to be called doctrine. Number one, that subject matter or that thought must be captured in the Old Testament. It must be a subject that was captured in the Old Testament. That means you must be able to find scriptural references where that subject matter was discussed and engaged in the Old Testament. Test number two, Jesus in his earth walk must have taught that subject or acted in keeping with that subject. So the first test is the test of that subject being taught or engaged in the Old Testament, and then it must be seen in the earth walk and the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. Number three, that subject or that thought line must be captured in the teachings of the apostles and the early church. So any teaching that was not captured in the Old Testament, any teaching that was not captured in the life of Jesus, who midwifed the old and the new, any teaching that was not captured in the life of the early church and the apostles, does not qualify to be doctrine. It can be a supporting opinion that a prophet had. Are we together now? So we can have the authority to deal with a subject using a doctrinal stance if we can find that subject taught or references made to that subject or that thought line in the Old Testament. It must be a subject that Jesus spoke about, and it must be a subject that we saw discussed in the life of the apostles and the early church.